And we are live. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Carson Meredith here with you on this Saturday morning. Hope you are well. Hope your weekend is off to a nice start. The weather is off to a nice start this weekend too, but it's not going to stay that way. Got some new information to share with you this morning. Looking ahead to our big rain chances on Sunday. We're still going to see some heavier rain, but we're starting to get into that better high-res territory where we can look at those higher resolution models and give you a more exact time of when that heaviest rain moves through. So we're going to share that info with you this morning, and we'll give you a preview to next week. I'm not going to deep dive into next week just yet. I'll do that tonight because I will be back here on Wave Weather Now this evening, but it's going to be a busy stretch of weather ahead. That is for sure. As you might know, the Olympics started last night. Did you see the opening ceremony? Boy, that was wild, wasn't it? Very, very well done, in my opinion. Of course, the Olympics are going on here on Wave and NBC. That's why we did not have our traditional newscast this morning. And as promised, over the next couple of weeks, you can catch us right here on Wave Weather Now around 9 or 9:30 on weekend morning. Somewhere in that half hour, we'll give a deep dive forecast because we've got a lot to talk about, at least for this weekend. But at least it's quiet this morning. That's live view from our Jeffersonville SkyTrack camera looking out towards downtown Louisville. Hazy again. Yeah, that wildfire smoke from out west and up in Canada too. The Canadian wildfire is starting to get out of hand once again. That's the reason why that sky looks quite murky. There's no air quality concerns, which is good, but definitely not going to be a brilliant blue sky really anytime soon. And even with these storm chances that we've got on the way, usually that would help to clear out the sky a little bit. I don't really see that happening just yet. But again, no air quality concerns for now. It just looks hazy. Current temperature here in Louisville is 73. It's not bad. It's a little humid, but the dew point's only in the mid-50s, so it could be worse in late July. So a decent start to the weekend. And all in all, today looks pretty good. Tiny shower chance. I'm talking 10% or less. But nearly all of us stay dry. Tracy's watching us this morning. Good morning. Hope all is well. Weather Geek watching on YouTube. Judith on YouTube says good morning to everyone in Kentucky. Can't forget our friends in Indiana either as well. Let's go to Kentucky, though, with our Mesonet cameras. Not quite as hazy, especially down in southern Kentucky, Taylor County in particular. A little blue in that sky instead of that haze. Temperatures outside of Louisville in the upper 60s to near 70 at the moment. It's going to be a warm day, but nothing out of the ordinary for this time of year. It's usually the last 5 or 6 days of July that is our peak heat of the entire year. That's not to say that we're going to cool down in August, because I don't think we will at all. But on average, it's usually late July when we're at our hottest here in Wave Country. So it could be much, much worse. That is for sure. Here's your highs for tomorrow. Excuse me. Mid 80s tomorrow, but we're in the upper 80s to low 90s today. So another warm one. Take it easy outside. Thankfully, the heat index isn't a huge issue because of that lower humidity, but still definitely want to stay hydrated for sure. Now, you see tomorrow, we've got those highs in the low to mid 80s, and that is thanks to higher storm chances. Radar's quiet for now. It's going to stay quiet in all likelihood all day. I'm going to watch later this afternoon our far western areas in Kentucky for maybe 1 or 2 downpours that might try to sneak into Breckenridge, Grayson, Perry County. That is a tiny chance. Louisville, we're good to go today. No rain chances at all here in the city. Southern Indiana, north of 64, so like Paoli, Salem, Scottsburg, Madison, you guys are good to go as well. If you live east of I-65, you're fine. The 10% chance you see on our 10-day earliest alert is for our friends out near Litchfield, Caneyville, Hardinsburg, Irvington, Tell City, Jasper. So our far western friends may see a stray shower today. Everybody else, good to go. But here's the big picture. See that big slug of moisture down here? in Missouri, Western Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas. That is our troublemaker for tomorrow. This is straight up tropical air. The moisture down here is incredible. We're talking PWATs, or precipitable water in the atmosphere, over 2 inches. And that means that our main concern tomorrow is still very heavy rain. Thankfully, we're not worried about severe weather necessarily tomorrow. Could we have some gusty winds? I'm not going to rule it out, but a chance looks quite a bit lower. But the big story is this big slug of moisture, the low pressure, which is, you can kind of see it right there. Let me get my drawing tool working here. So the low pressure's right on the Missouri-Arkansas line. It's going to go like that up towards Chicago today and tomorrow, which means that all this precipitation is going to go due north for the most part. Maybe a slight jog to the east, not a lot. So when you've got storms, and Brian talked about this on his blog yesterday, when you've got heavy rain storms that go north, south to north like that, that is a perfect recipe for training cells that just go over the same spots over and over and over and over again. And that eventually, of course, leads to flooding issues. And when you got such an incredibly warm, moist atmosphere, it's going to be something we'll have to watch very carefully for tomorrow. But real quick, a lot of things happening around Wave Country today, including the Meade County Fair. Heading out to Brandenburg this afternoon looks pretty good. Tiny shower chance, mainly west of Brandenburg, but looks fine. Highs in the upper 80s to near 90. Heading to the Lou City game tonight. That looks good too. Mid-80s at kickoff against Monterey Bay. And we'll drop into the upper 70s, near 80 by the end of that contest later on tonight. Ashley's watching from the car on the way to Disney. Yeah, that's right. You were talking about going to Disney last weekend. So safe travels. Hope you all have fun. And it's very cool that you still keep tuned to the weather while you're out of town. That's great. All right, here's the new information. So here's your big thing to take away from our forecast this evening, or this morning, I should say. Highest rain chances tomorrow look to be from around 1 o'clock until 9 or 10 p.m. During that 8-hour window is when our threat for heavy rain and localized flooding is going to be at its highest, especially across central Kentucky, if you live south of Louisville. So is it going to rain every single second tomorrow? No. There will be some dry time, but not a lot, okay? So I still recommend, if you have any outdoor plans scheduled for tomorrow, that you start thinking about indoor backup places, especially if those outdoor plans are later in the day, into the early afternoon and the evening as well. However, while we've got this big slug of moisture that moves in during the afternoon, there's still going to be enough moisture around late tonight, early tomorrow morning for a few downpours that could fire up early in the day. And that's going to be key when it comes to the flooding issue. You know, if we can just hold off on all the rain until later in the day, that would really help us a lot. But if you get some little downpours that fire up early in the morning, and then you got this big old slug of rain that moves in the afternoon, that could add some extra concern to that flooding potential later in the day, because the ground's already saturated from those downpours in the morning. We'll watch it. Risk is low for now, 10 to 20%. I still think the highest rain chances will be into the afternoon as well as the evening. Now, this is also new information this morning. And think of this map similar to the Storm Prediction Center maps. You know, the marginal risk, slight risk, enhanced, blah, 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 blah. Similar concept here for excessive rainfall. And you notice this is kind of the zone that we were watching in the office yesterday for the heavy rain threat tomorrow. Central Southern Kentucky. You see that level 2 slight risk for excessive rainfall covers Hardinsburg, Brandenburg, E-Town, Hodgenville, Campbellsville, Lebanon, Greensburg, Munfordville, Litchfield, Columbia. So it's central Kentucky that we really got to watch in particular for that heavy rain and flooding threat tomorrow afternoon, especially because these storms are going to start to fire up further south and they'll keep lifting north. So that's why you guys are going to see potentially several rounds, maybe, of heavier rain tomorrow. Here's Futurecast. Today's fine. We mentioned that small shower chance out west, Owensboro and Evansville in particular. We'll see if any of those showers try to get into Perry, Breckenridge, Grayson, Du Bois. I don't think they will, but we'll keep a 10% chance just in case. Everybody else is fine. Watch what happens as we go through the night, though. This is 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Most of us still dry. Hopefully that continues. But I will say, as this incredibly tropical atmosphere continues to move in with this big tropical moisture slug that's going to be moving in too, I'm not going to rule out a few downpours firing up near sunrise in central and southern Kentucky. This forecast model, the HRRR model, high resolution rapid refresh model, doesn't show that. But we need to keep an eye on it. Again, if we get these downpours earlier in the day, the more problems we'll have later in the afternoon and into the evening as well. So that is something that I'm really going to watch closely tomorrow morning. But for now, Futurecast not showing that. 9:30 in the morning, still not a lot. Still the chance for a few early downpours. So if you're heading to church early tomorrow morning, getting some Sunday brunch, keep that in mind. The main show is into the afternoon. This is around 1 o'clock. Heavy downpours kind of out there by themselves in advance of this big mess out near Evansville and Owensboro. So you kind of see why central Kentucky has that greater concern for some flooding issues tomorrow. So this is 1 o'clock. Let's keep going. Here's 3:30. Notice how every single one of these cells has heavy rain with it. Got some reds, oranges, yellows, even some pinks down near Bowling Green. So these are going to be incredibly efficient rainfall producers, right? They're just going to drop buckets and buckets of rain wherever they go, however long they last. These storms will be moving a little bit, but in general, they're going to be slow movers. So that too could cause some flooding concerns. And you notice how that more widespread rain earlier in the afternoon is still south of Louisville. So you kind of, you get the drift as to why we're watching our friends in Kentucky for that flooding threat more. But if you're up in southern Indiana, you guys are still going to have heavier downpours as well, as early as I'd say 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when the main window opens, it looks like, for the heavy rain threat tomorrow. Okay. As we keep going on Futurecast, Sunday afternoon, late afternoon into the evening. If you got outdoor plans, forget it. Usually I don't like saying it that way, but once this heavy rain sets in, it's going to be sticking around for a while. Now, as far as severe weather is concerned, the ingredients just aren't there, thankfully. Because there's so much moisture, obviously it's going to rain more widespread. That'll knock down the instability. And the shear or the wind in the atmosphere, it's not that strong. Could we have one little storm initially that has some gusty wind tomorrow afternoon, early in the day, like, that 1 or 2 o'clock time frame? Yeah, I can't rule it out. But it's a very low risk. The main issue tomorrow is heavy rain and potentially flooding. So we'll keep the rain around widespread during our 6 o'clock newscast tomorrow night. And continuing into the evening, 8, 9 o'clock, still raining in many spots, some of it heavy. And then as we get towards midnight tomorrow night, the trend this morning with this morning's round of model guidance has been to dry us out a little bit. But there's some models that want to keep some showers and storms around still Sunday night. So that still needs to be ironed out. But I'm becoming a little more optimistic that once we get past midnight tomorrow night, heading into early Monday, we'll dry out a little bit. Could still be a few showers, but it won't be this gully washer of a rain. like we'll have earlier in the day on Sunday. So hopefully that makes sense for everybody. Let's see. Kay says we can use some rain in Henry County. Yeah, it's getting a little dry in Henry County. East of Louisville, we're teetering on that dry to drought territory. I think, I'm not sure about Henry County. I don't have the drought map in here this morning, but I know Nelson County, Spencer County, parts of Bullitt County are in a moderate drought. So we need the rain. We just don't want too much of it at the same time, right? So that's where we stand for tomorrow. Let me pop up the 10-day earliest alert. We still have the higher storm chances, of course, for tomorrow. Also into Monday, and it still looks as though, I'll dive deeper into this when I'm back here on Wave Weather Now tonight. So those of you that like the double feature last weekend, I'm going to do it again tonight because we have so much to talk about. Monday through, well, really all of next week. I was trying to pinpoint a day when this might end, but it's hard to say at this point. All of next week, starting on Monday, the pattern is going to be much, much more favorable for these clusters of storms to roll through. Our thinking on that has not changed. Jet stream off to our north, oriented northwest to southeast, ridge to the east, ridge to the west. That puts us in a bullseye zone for these storm clusters. The million-dollar question, not just now, but all of next week, is going to be, when do these storm clusters develop? Where do they go? And when do they get here? So those three questions we still have to answer in the days to come. I will say, looking at this morning, it looks as though we could see our first storm cluster Monday afternoon into Monday evening. Now, these storm clusters would potentially cause heavy rain, of course, which, if we get a lot of heavy rain tomorrow, could mean the flooding issues linger into Monday, right? But also at the same time, it's these kind of storm clusters that can cause some damaging wind. I got a feeling we're going to have alert days next week. Which days? Hard to say at this point. But with these storm clusters, if they do move into wave country, they could have a damaging wind threat. So I'm going to dive deeper into that tonight. So tune in around 6:45, 7 o'clock tonight here on Wave Weather Now, or on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're watching me this morning. I'll be back on here tonight. We'll break it down in even more detail later on. I didn't want to overwhelm everybody on a Saturday morning, right? But next week certainly looks quite busy. There will be dry time. There will be dry time next week. There are some of you next week that will not see much rain at all. But some could see a lot of rain and maybe some damaging wind too. We just got to continue to fine-tune the exact times that those storm clusters might roll through. But that starts on Monday, goes through next week. I'm hopeful that next weekend we can calm things down a little bit. But you notice the heat ramps up. We've had a nice little stretch to close out July where we've only had like one day in the 90s over the last week and a half. That trend will be coming to an end maybe today at 92. And then, of course, the higher rain chances cool us back into the 80s tomorrow. But you notice as we get towards, let's say, Wednesday and Thursday of next week, 93, that's when it looks like the heat will become a little bit more of a story than it has been in recent weeks. So still a pretty busy setup to come. Enjoy today's quiet weather while we got it. Let's see. Comments are quiet this morning. Everybody still waking up? Hopefully I'm not boring you too much. Judas asking, the NHC is talking possible tropical storm or hurricane in the U.S. Can you have an update on that this evening? Yes, I would be glad to. Again, this morning, I usually don't do a video like this in the morning, but with the Olympics on, I wanted to make sure you guys still have your weather info. But yeah, I just wanted to focus on Sunday this morning. But yes, this evening I'll do a deeper dive into the setup for the tropics, because indeed there is a system out there that models have been hinting at for a few days now. And the National Hurricane Center is like, okay, we need to watch this. So yeah, I'll share more information on that later on this evening. Any other comments, questions, thoughts, or concerns before we sign off this morning? Thanks for stopping by. We'll keep doing this double feature while the Olympics are going on, since we don't have our regular newscast on the mornings right now. Lois says, thanks. You're welcome, Lois. Glad to be here as always. Enjoy today. Yes, it's going to be a little hot, not terribly humid, a little humid, but not bad. Could be worse, because starting tomorrow, things get busy and they stay busy heading into next week. So that's all we have for now. I'll be back on. We will have our newscast tonight at 6 o'clock. So once the Olympics wrap up their coverage this afternoon, we will be having our newscast at 6 tonight. And then I'll be back here on Wave Weather Now around 6:45 to 7 o'clock this evening. I'll give you another update on tomorrow's storm chances. We'll dive deeper into next week and also the tropics as well. All right. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I always say it because it's true. I'll leave you with the 10-day. A little toasty today, but dry. That will not be the case tomorrow. So get outside today if you possibly can. All right, that's it for now. I'll see you again on TV tonight at 6 and back here on Wave Weather Now right after that 6 o'clock newscast this evening. See you later.